if you are watching post-race, just give a head to the intro. This is just while we're getting everyone in and ready to go. Not the highest on the grid tonight, obviously, because of the Euros game between England and Ukraine, but still going to be a pretty good race, so I hope you're just excited as I am, and yeah, we'll get underway as soon as we can. We are getting underway right now, so don't go anywhere, guys, because we've got a short qualifying session followed by a 50% race around the Russian Grand Prix circuit of Sochi. It's going to be a good one. But regardless, welcome everyone, and here we are for round 11 of Season 4 here for NRL. This being a very, very tight championship. We're here for the penultimate round now, so it's getting tight, and then, well, with a grid of low attendance, it just goes to, well, up the stakes, really, doesn't it? There's more points on offer, and if Cachao can maybe open up a bit more of a points lead heading into Brazil, a track he's not so comfortable with, it definitely can help, and hopefully, for a lot of people's sake, he can end the 4 championship streak of Mr. Honesy, who isn't racing tonight. So Cachao's got that perfect opportunity to stretch his legs out in front and try and secure one hand on the trophy going into Brazil. But he's got a short qualifying session and 27 laps of Sochi in his path. How can he do? We'll have to wait and find out. Of course, a strong performance from Cali Rob last week and in Mexico. Absolutely dominated the field, and strategy was an absolute... It was a necessity there. Honestly, it was a crazy race. So coming into Sochi, hopefully they can do just as well. Of course, in real life, it's not been the best producer of races. Of course, most recently we've been in 2019, and we saw the drama between the 2 Ferraris. But other than that, it's not really been too eventful. So hopefully they can put on a bit more of a show for us today. Fingers crossed, we'll have to see. But 18 minutes of qualifying ahead of us. I should probably turn down the game volume just so you can hear me a little bit better. And we'll get the telemetry and everything sorted out. Strategy around Sochi then, it's not too difficult to pull off the one stop. Soft to hard or soft to medium, I would say. Of course, the track is pretty much like velvet. You don't actually lose too much time. You don't lose too much tyre there as the laps go on. So it shouldn't be too difficult for people to comfortably qualify on the mediums. We got the first man heading out, first couple of men heading out. We got Delta Lima, and I believe is that Cachao as well heading out of the pit lane. Yes, indeed it is. The Alfa Romeo looking to secure a pole position. Maybe definitely could help him in his bid for the championship. It currently leads the way. So it could be interesting. We've got Cali Rob out on the track as well. Quite a few people out on the track as well. And I've noticed Cachao's already invalidated his outlap. And that is one thing I'm going to bring it into mind. The fact that track limits are very difficult. You can see that it's awkward to follow the track around here. And especially into the upcoming corner now. You sort of chuck it in and expect the car to grip up. And if it runs wide, that's an invalidation. That's a penalty. And I'm not going to be too surprised if we see a lot of that. Again, running wide through there. and into this corner just before the second DRS straight. It's just so easy to run that little bit too wide and catch yourself out. And yeah, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of penalties. Hopefully the race isn't decided on penalties. That would be an absolute catastrophe. But yeah, don't be too surprised if we do see a couple. Into the chicane. Absolutely amazing chicane, to be fair. You're going in flat out. You're still turning as you start braking, and you want to brake in such a straight line, and you're going so fast, and you can brake so late and carry that speed into there. So it's probably one of the only corners really that is actually half decent around Sochi. The rest of them are either completely boring or just 90 degrees. So nonetheless, coming through the final corner is Kachal, setting up a nice lap. He needs to get good on the power and not wheel spin too much. Need a good exit. DRS open, the drag reduction system propelling him down towards turn 2, hooking up that curb to minimise steering angle. Not sure if that's going to work too well into his favour. Looking for the 100 board, braking as late as he can, down to third gear, bit of a lock up, short shift to fourth, use that curb on the inside, keep it to the left hand side, hook this curb here on the inside through turn 3 and just let it rotate the car for you. You can see how minimal steering input Kachal's putting in. Brake at the start of the curb, down to fourth gear, clip the apex. As soon as you hit that apex, fifth gear, sixth gear, climbing up, looking for the start of the curb again, just after third gear, roll through, hit that curb and let it rotate the car, and then through turn 6 into 7, just double downshift, hit that curb, let it rotate the car again, roll out, use the full extent of the track, and then into turn 8, chuck it in. Don't run out too far wide, but again carry that speed, and then in to this corner here where you just have to get a good exit because this is a long DRS straight. DRS open, an extra 20 kph, and this is looking like a pretty tidy lap for Kachal so far in qualifying. Want to go for maybe two more runs after this. Again, looking for the 100 board as soon as you're straight down to third gear. Let the car roll in. It is so crucial you're good with the brakes around here. They help a ton in getting the car turned in. No real reference point for this corner. You just have to sort of guess every lap. Try and get the front left onto that curb and try not to let the undulation change you. The only bit of undulation really around Sochi, and it's in such an awkward place. Into the penultimate corner. Bit of a lock-up. Delta Lima goes provisional pole. 31.9. Not a bad lap whatsoever. Let's see what Kachal can do across the line. It's a 30.3. Not a bad lap at all for the Alfa Romeos, who currently sits 1 and 2 out of the 2 people to have set a lap. Cali Rob goes into second though, 1 and a bit tenths down on Kachal, so very close at the front at the moment. We've got Vengeance now coming through the final sector as well. A couple more cars in his way. Just in front, looking to set that lap as well, and that is Atmkev going into P3. Another man into the sub 31 lap times. Here's Vengeance across the line, 31.3, so quicker than Delta Lima, not quite as quick as Atmkev. We got Stein, who's invalidated his lap time. We got Exotic in the Mercedes, a very quick driver, very consistent, and chucking it through, and he's invalidated unfortunately, has the Mercedes, so not much to see. We've got Tiny Das Bike on the medium compound tyre. Very interesting choice. Whether he's going for a bank run or is actually planning on qualifying on these tyres, no clue. But not the tidiest of runs through that chicane. Too much of a slip angle really in first gear. Not something you often want to see on this game. First gear is pretty deadly, of course, on 2019 and 18. You'd want to go into first gear, get that extra rotation. Bit shaky across the line. So 35, not the best time for the Renault. Here's Stein now starting up his other lap. He's been sort of a qualifying guru in recent times, and especially in the race. Very quick driver is the man in the AlphaTauri. Let's see what he can do around Sochi. You're going to pick up a little bit of a tow from the Renault in front, who darts out of the way very late and smacks himself into the wall, but down in towards turn 1. Doesn't hit that apex as well as he could have done, and then again the curb unsettling the car a little bit. Tries to hook up turn 3. You want to get all over that curb with that as far as you can without invalidating, because it just allows you to carry that speed and not have to put the steering input in. He ends off sector 1. What's it going to be? It's going to be a 32.9. Not the best, not the worst, and hooks that turn 5 up pretty nicely. We've got Mucho Chan in P2, 30.4, so really shaping up to be close at the front between the Alfa Romeo, Williams and Ferrari in 1, 2 and 3. The AlphaTauri, let's see what he can do now, coming in to the second of the 2 DRS straights, 2 very long DRS straights, and they do promote quite good overtaking, it must be said, especially that long run down towards what is turn 2 effectively. Turn 1 isn't much of a corner, but it is officially turn 2 when braking into the chicane. Goes purple to the middle sector, goes Stein for his first run. 11 minutes left to go in this session, and the AlphaTauri is looking pretty good, and he's invalidated unfortunately. So again, he's not been able to hook up the lap, and that could be detrimental for Stein there. We've got no one else on track at the moment, apart from the Ferrari, who I'm going to guess is on an in-lap. And yeah, unfortunately, he's he's going to have to back out of this one. I'm glad you like him, Toss. I do try my best week in, week out. Of course, I've had the 4 hours of Watkins Glen earlier, 2 hours of which I was on, so definitely got the vocal cords warmed up, and I'm looking forward to a splendid night of racing. Got to make the most of it for the smaller grid because of the England game. Whether you believe it's coming home or not, we've got some very patriotic Brits who are cheering on the English. And as far as I'm concerned, I believe it's going pretty well so far. But here comes the Ferrari into the pit lane. We've got Delta Lima out on an out lap. We've got Exotic and Dace, who's going to try and maybe help his teammate out a little bit. Of course, Mucho Chan stepping in for the reigning champion, but Dace, he's the regular. He's the quick man in the Ferrari. He's going to be the one heading this team with Honesy out, and he needs to make a statement. He needs to try and put a stop to Cachao and help his teammate out a little bit going into the final round in Brazil, because if he doesn't, again, we could see Honesy dethroned, and yeah, that could be a shame. You can see Dace just pulling over nicely, letting everyone through. Of course, Ferrari haven't had the best of runs at the Russian Grand Prix, especially in recent times, as I alluded to earlier in 2019. But Toss, if you're still watching, you need to get out on track. 10 minutes left to go. You need to get yourself into the top 10. Dace trying his luck on these medium tyres, the yellow striped, of course. One step softer than the soft compound tyre. And they are going to be slower over one lap. Of course, they degrade a lot slower. So if Dace gets himself into the top 10, he'll start the race on these tyres, and that could play interestingly for his strategy, or this could just be a bank lap time. Who knows? But nonetheless, I personally would go for the soft to medium, or soft to hard, whatever it might be. I haven't done a league race around Sochi in a while. Nonetheless, we've got Dace starting his lap now in the Ferrari, coming through the penultimate corner. In this last corner, you want to get as straight as exit as you possibly can. Really helps that launch, and Dace has got an absolutely amazing one there, climbing up the speedometer. You can see absolutely incredible acceleration. DRS open, and then through turn 1, just want to keep it as straight line as possible. And now coming towards turn 2, as I said, looking for that 100 board. Brake as late as you can, you spam down the gears, third gear, hit that apex on the inside and try and straight line turn 2 as much as you can. Or, well, is it really turn 3? This is now turn 3, this long left-hander. Again, you just got to try and minimise the steering angle. Turn 4, just got to look for that curb on the left-hand side, and then darting towards the end of sector 1, towards turn 5 again, looking for the start of that curb. 33.1 on the medium tyres, that's not that bad, and he goes a little bit too wide, 2 wheels over the white line, and that is an invalidation, unfortunately, going Dace's way. We've got Stein going for another attempt. Let's see how he can do. Probably running out of opportunities at this rate. No one else yet to beat Kachao's at provisional pole time as it stands, but he's out there now trying to beat it. We'll go on board with the AlphaTauri once again. Let's see if he can get himself amongst the front. Kev doing a remarkably good job actually up there. 30.8 as it stands. Of course, half the grid yet to, or I should say more of a quarter of the grid yet to set a lap time. More of a third of the grid, let's say. But towards turn number 4, hooks that up really nicely. Accelerates, coming down towards the sector line. It's the 32.7, goes purple to the first sector, does the AlphaTauri. This is looking like a pretty good lap. Now we've reached the halfway point. There's Cali Rob getting himself into provisional P1, just 0.012 ahead of Cachao. Very, very close qualifying up in front, as we saw in real life Formula 1 today. Hopefully they can replicate some of that. Stein's going to maybe pick up a bit of a toe from the Renault in front. Not quite. Oh, that was very, very close to contact. Stein going to make a tiny dust spike. A little bit scared after that one. That was definitely going to be a heart in his mouth moment. Purple to the middle sector goes the AlphaTauri. This is a very hooked up lap. Let's see if he can complete it through this final sort of tight, twisty chicane, and then into the final chicane, the proper final chicane, where you get a bit of undulation that unsettles the car. Again, just want to get as good of exit as you can. You just cannot let the car go shaky. Look for that black box just overhead, brake at that, down to 4th gear, use the track, and then carry that momentum, carry that speed, accelerate as much as you can across the line. It's a 30.218. Good effort from Stein on his first full, complete flying lap. But it's very close, less than a tenth separating the top 3. And only a tenth back to the Ferrari in P4, and then only a tenth back to the McLaren in P5, less than a tenth back to P6. So very, very close top 6. Any one of these guys could take pole. That's at least going to be my bet. We've got Dace. Let's see if he can actually put a lap in this time in the Ferrari. ERS open now as he hurdles towards the chicane. Let's see what he's done to the middle sector. 105.1 seems to be pretty decent. Goes in a little bit too deep though. He's going to have to be pretty compromised for the second part of this chicane. Welcome into the stream. If you are enjoying, do make sure to leave a like. Talking through Dace's lap time now. He's on the yellow stripe medium tyres, trying to get himself established amongst the midfield, maybe even the front runners on these mediums if he can. Again, look for that black box, carry the speed through 4th gear, let the car roll through. The brakes are so crucial on this game. You have to control the brakes across the line. It's a 32.1 and it's only P10 for Dace. That's not what the Ferrari need at the moment, unfortunately. So Mucho Chan flying the flags, flying the colours at the front. Only a couple attempts off pole. To be precise, 0.201 seconds off the leader, that is Stein, who at the moment leads the charge with 5 minutes left to go in this session. We've got Tiny Darspike now coming through at the final corner, burnt through his entire laps allowance of ERS as he comes across the line. That's been a pretty good effort for the Renault. 30.6, very much established himself up there. So it's looking really close. Everyone in that sub 31 range. This is looking like it could be pretty spicy towards the end. And now everyone into the pit lane, preparing for their final runs. And yeah, this is going to be crunch time for everyone. Dace, is he still out there on another lap? No, he's invalidated. So my best guess, Jesus Christ, can't speak, is that Dace is going to come in, strap some softs on and try and put himself towards the front, but nearly 2 seconds off pole on mediums. You sort of want to be around maybe just under less than a second off pole with the mediums, so he's quite far off the pace as Dace, and that's quite uncharacteristic. He's usually there or thereabouts when it comes in terms of sheer pace. We've got a car out there at the moment. That's the Haas of Mr. Cool Guy 3021. Let's see if he can be a cool guy, maybe stick it on the front row. We've seen stranger things happen. A Haas on the front row would be something pretty remarkable. In towards turn 4, just clipping it in, very, very nice and tidy on his outlap, just trying to get some temperature into the tyres. All of the top 6 are in the pit lane. And a very, very close top 6. That is something that's very characteristic of NRL. We always have incredibly close qualifying and then incredibly close races as well. Of course, remember last week in Mexico, we had something like a 5-car train for the race lead at one point. It was pretty mental. And yeah, I don't think people can quite fathom how intense that can be for a driver and as a commentator. And as someone who can sort of balance both, I can tell you it's pretty remarkable to watch and both be in those fights. So Mr. Cool Guy setting up his lap, and we've got Atom Kev, the first of the top 6 to head out onto track. 3 minutes left to go in this session. And we've got Mr. Cool Guy doing his final preparations, trying to set up this lap. We'll go on board with him. Currently sits P10, 32.0. Let's see if he can improve upon this lap time in the Haas, number 47, just like Mick Schumacher in real life. Across the line, he was only 4 tenths down in his fastest lap time on his outlap, so couldn't have been that bad. Let's see what he can do as he heads out towards turn number 2. Roll the car in on the brakes. And he's invalidated it. That could be his last chance. This needs to be a second cooldown lap, a second installation lap, just to get the car up to temperature. And I'm sure that was all part of the plan. That's what we'll put it down to, is that it was part of the plan. But Toss needs to get out there. He's leaving this really late, Toss. Toss is leaving this pretty late. If he invalidates, which is very easy to do, he'll find himself at the back of the grid. But it's Toss. He's an absolute mastermind. If he could win, if he wanted to win the championship, he very much could. He just hides it. That's Toss. So he's going to put on a bit of a show for us if he does invalidate it. And it's all part of the plan. We've got the front runners now heading out of their pit boxes. Stein followed by the McLaren of Vengeance. We've still got Calibrob in his pit box. He needs to get a move on if he wants to get out there. And here he comes, the Williams. Hopefully don't get caught out in traffic. Stein, the provisional pulse, it doesn't feel safe. He's going to head out for his final run. Kachow out as well. Mucho Chan out on track. The Ferrari heading the charge. Of course, we've got Atom Kev as well on his outlap. He's going to be the first one to cross the line. warming up the tyres, getting ready to go. This is the final lap in qualifying then for Adam Kev, as the checkered flag will be out by the time he crosses the line once again. DRS open in the number 19 Haas. Floors it through turn 1, 200 miles an hour, pulling probably around about 5 or 6 G as he goes through there, and then looking for the black box, the 100 board down to third gear, clip that apex, run it over the curb for that little kink. Then through turn 3 you can see he nails that, just keeps it tight, hooks the curb up, does not want to put any steering angle in that he doesn't need to, very twitchy. And then towards turn 4, look for that first curb, clip over that inside curb, and he's round wide, he's invalidated. That could be pretty crucial for him. He's going to be P6 at best. Is Adam Kevin? We got a little bit of a wait for someone else to cross the line. Is that now Mucho Chan 07 crossing the line to start his lap now. 42 seconds left to go. We're coming to the final stages. Sets up a nice exit, really put the effort in to get a good launch there, and he's really done that well as he crosses the line. And DRS open, let's see what he can do. Currently sits on a 30.4, 2 tenths or 2.01 tenths. We'll see him into P1. Provided, of course, Stein, Cali or Kachow don't improve as well. Don't rule out the McLaren of Vengeance. He could be someone to contend with. We've got Kachow going through turn 1 as well. Cali, Rob and Stein still yet to start their lap. Stein now starting his lap. He's got a nice bit of a toe from the car in front of him. Bit cheeky from Stein there. That's definitely going to go a long way to help him out, so long as he doesn't feel the effect of that dirty air. We've got Mucho who goes purple to the first sector. 300ths up on his previous best time. And now coming towards the fast right-hander of turn 6, and that is a very big wobble from Mucho there. That is going to be as hard as mouth, goes very wide again, bit of a wobble there if he's running very low on fuel. And then coming towards this second DRS straight, this has been a pretty tidy lap so far, bar the couple of twitches, but just goes to show how hard he's pushing. The number 24 Ferrari currently sits P4, wants to maybe help out Honesy, the man he's stepping in for. He goes purple again, 2 tenths up on his previous best time as he heads into turn 12 and 13. Hooks up the chicane, absolutely perfect through there. Dace puts himself at P5 just behind his teammate. But now what can he do into this final sector? Got to hook it up. Does not want to let the Delta get to his head. Just needs to keep his head down. See how much more he can improve. Into the final sector. Down to third gear. Get the extra rotation. Short shift to fourth. And then carry the momentum through the final corner. What's it going to be? Is it going to be a 30 dead? What a lap from Mucho Chan. We've got Stein now on a lap as well. Goes purple to the middle sector. He's improving. This could be a very dramatic end to qualifying. We've got Kachow across the line. What can he do? Can he dethrone him? Yes, he can. The first man into the 29s. A 29.932. Who else have we got across the line? No one else just yet. Stein's going to be the next man across as he comes through. Bit of a lock-up. Can he dethrone Kachow? Yes, he can. Spins across the line, but gets it done. Now we've got to wait for Cali Rob. Has he improved? 1.5 tenths up. Needs to find that little bit extra into this final sector. We've seen 2 people already dethrone the provisional pole sitter. Can Cali Rob do a repeat of it across the line? It's only P2, but how close is that? 1100ths of a second between himself and Stein. What a qualifying session that was. Stein puts the lap in when it counts though, and spins across the line to do it in fashion as Mr. Woot pulls himself into the pit lane. But what a tense qualifying session, and Toss didn't make the flag. Toss. Toss, toss, toss. Whew, that was a very intense qualifying, it must be said. I mean, Mucho, I thought it was done deal there, but we saw Kachow up on his time, and of course Kachow up on his time, Cali Rob up, and then Stein put the lap in. Cali Rob couldn't quite do it, but incredibly close. 11. What is that? 2 tenths separating the top 4, which yeah, that's not too bad. Not complaining too much there. Yeah, definitely delivering despite the short absence. And so for sure this is going to be a better watch than the England game. So your grid for round 11. Stein on pole position ahead of Cali Rob in P2. Kachow in P3. Mucho rounds off the second row with Dace in P5. 4-5 for Ferrari. Pretty good result as they try to stop Kachow and extending the championship lead over their teammate Honesy. Vengeance in P6 with Adam Kev at P7. Tiny Dustbike in P8 with Exotic and Delta Lima rounding off the top 10. Cool Eye followed by Mr. Wu and Toss, the only man not to put a lap in. Let's see what he can do as we go ahead for the race in just a few moments time. Do not go anywhere. So now we get ready for the race. So it's tipped to be a pretty good one. I'm looking forward to this one. Incredibly close qualifying. Let's see if they can convert that into the race. And let's see if we've got one for the TikTok ahead. Fingers crossed. Not sure if my contract allows this, but go follow me on TikTok, Sweeney Z Commentary. It'd be a pleasure to have you there. But I'm sure I can discount a couple of Freddos in my contract for a shout out on the TikTok. Do go take a look. It is greatly appreciated. Just waiting for the guys to ready up. I think we're going to get underway pretty soon. Shouldn't be too long till we're getting underway now, and here we are getting ready to go green for the formation lap. If you did miss the grid, Stein on pole, he's got Caddy Rob in P2, Kachao in P3, and Mucho Chan rounding off the second row. 27 laps ahead of us of Sochi. Let's have a quick look at the strategy. Has Toss gone for an alternate strategy? Everyone outside the top 10 going for the medium tyre. Very interesting. Weather doesn't look like it's going to play a factor today, so it's flat out to the end. Very big implications for the championship. If Kachao can't score points, he's going to be very much on the back foot heading into Brazil. So let's hope for his sake he can score some good points and extend that championship lead going into the final round. Stein's going to be looking to seal yet another race victory this season. Cali Rob's going to try and carry that momentum from Mexico into today. And fingers crossed we can have a bit of a feature on the New York offices. It would be lovely to see. And it's a pleasure to have anyone who is friends with Kylie Rob watching the stream. Appreciate the kind words as always. Nonetheless, so this is eyes forward for the race ahead, and I really cannot wait to talk you through it. And now it's Stein preparing his car, getting those tyres warmed up, getting those brakes warmed up. You can see Kachao really backing the grid up, being a little bit cheeky here, it must be said. He's letting everyone shoot off in front so he can warm up his tyres, and the front two will be starting on some colder tyres. Stein isn't really too bothered, to be honest, but Cali Rob could be vulnerable. Kachao and Mucho, I would say, are in actually really good positions heading towards turn 1. You get a long slipstream, of course. It's a very long run, one of the longest runs to the first braking zones on the calendar. I believe actually the longest run to a braking zone on the calendar from Lights. So yeah, I mean P3 and 4 could be a very beneficial position for him. Predicted pit stop strategy, soft to medium or soft to hard. Interestingly, the medium seems to be the favoured strategy. But here we are then, lining up on to the grid, waiting for Toss as always, and then we're going to get going. 5 red lights ahead of the penultimate round of Season 4, and what a season it's been. So far, so good. Let's see if we can kick it off. They're revving up the cars. 5 red lights, a long run towards turn 2. We've been held for quite a while, but we're underway in racing. Very good reaction times from the Williams, who already pulls alongside him, coming towards turn 1, and he's already cleanly ahead. The two Ferraris going side by side further back. Kachau's going to try and get involved as well into the mix. Bumper to bumper to bumper go the top three, and the Kachau's going to look to the inside. Stein's going to try and reclaim the race lead. Dace, bit of a tap to Kachau's rear end there. Let's hope no damage, and the Ferraris go side by side. Kev trying to get involved. Absolutely calamity start for Mucho. He's gone completely backwards and now under pressure from the Renault as well. He's going to force him all the way to the outside. Now coming towards turn 4, he's going to keep that position. The Renault on the outside, just about going to keep him honest, and still going to be side by side between him and the Ferrari. Let's see who's going to get it in towards the end of sector 1. The Renault trying to keep that pace, and around the outside goes off the track, claims the position, but the Ferrari not giving in, and finally does give in. So a pretty poor start from the Ferrari there. Mucho had a good qualifying, but couldn't quite convert it, and same with the McLaren as well. Really went backwards off the line. But it's an endurance, not a sprint. Well, I guess you could say in comparison to other races it is, but it's a long run ahead, so don't want to be getting your wing chopped off at the start of the race. We'll go to the front because I believe Kachau is maybe going to try and go for a move on Stein, or he's going to try and work with him because Callywell is showing some incredible pace. They do not want to let him get in front. Tiny Darkspike trying to put the pressure on the Haas, looking to go for maybe a bit of a cutback. Not quite going to be able to get the run that he needs. Looking to the inside, not quite going to be able to get it, but still such a close grid. Toss not being able to get himself in front. He's going to get ahead of the Renault of Mr. Wu. They run side by side, but he's going to have to tuck in again. Not quite being able to convert, but on board with the other Renault of Tiny Darkspike as he heads off at P6. We've got Caddy Rob falling down the order. No, we don't. That's a bit of a timing glitch as we come on to lap 2. Caddy Rob leads ahead of Stein and Kachau in P3. This is looking like a really intense race ahead of us, though. Kachau on the back of Stein, but not putting the pressure on. They need to work together, maybe bait Caddy Rob into a mistake and put the pressure on early, as such, to don't as they don't lose too much time to the car that they're fighting with, because that would be pretty poor racecraft if they did that. But they're working together really nicely and just trying to stay in that crucial 1 second range where they can pick up a nice little bit of DRS to help them along their way. Cali Rob then, let's see what the gap is. Definitely less than a second. Stein keeping him honest, keeping the pressure on, as Cali Rob has actually ran out of ERS for this lap already. Has ran out of ERS. You can see that by the blinking red light. Tried to expel all of his ERS to pull out a bit of a gap, but it didn't quite work for him, as you can see now having to conserve energy. No DRS just yet. That's the graphic fooling you. We don't have DRS until lap number 3. Definitely going to be pretty interesting. We've got Atomkev getting ahead of Dace, so the Haas on an absolute charge. Maybe Dace can put a move in around the outside brake as late as he can. Not quite going to be able to do it. That's going to open the door for the Renault of Tiny Darkspike, trying to invite his way through, but again, now finds himself sandwiched between the two Ferraris as we head on to lap 3. Cali Rob still leading the way. Stein and Kachau close behind, though. They're coming through the penultimate corner of turn 2. Cool Guy getting himself up into P11 or P10 momentarily. Delta Lima coming right back at him, though. Cali Rob leads. Stein with the fastest lap, though. We have got DRS this lap, and they're approaching the DRS zone now, and that's definitely going to help Stein along. And Cali Rob didn't lose all of his ERS, but maybe expended it all for that lap. We've got Mucho putting the pressure on his teammate. The two Ferraris going side by side. Doesn't look like Dace is going to fight this one too harshly and lets his teammate go. Very wise move, and maybe they can work together to propel themselves up the field. The Renault very close behind. There's been Calamity at the back. I believe that's Vengeance off, coming off a turn at number 1, and that is a big shame for the McLaren. Still a long way to go, though. He can potentially bring this back. Bit of a lockup going on. This is a bit of a fight now coming on for P9. This is Dace and Tiny Darkspike going side by side. Really, well, elbows out, shoving him off the track there. Luckily, they've got the run off to do that. Tiny Darkspike keeps his footing around the outside as Dace goes completely off the track. There's a bit of carbon fibre flying off. Could be Exotic's front wing. It is Exotic's front wing, as the leaders now head into that second DRS zone. Is Stein going to go for a move? He's got the DRS, so has Kachau, but that DRS isn't going to help him too much because Stein, of course, has it to defend with. And I believe Stein is going to try and maybe keep his nose clean and go for the move towards turn 1. That's what I would do. He's got another DRS zone coming up, and as long as he can keep this pressure on, that's all he needs. So far, a pretty good race, not in the way of pure action, but just to see how close to the pace of the grid it really is. Cali Rob very much under pressure from the two behind, and Kachau is going to be very interested to pick a couple of these guys off, as as they start battling. Atomkev with the fastest lap, so it just goes to show that he's got some pretty good pace in this race. DRS open for Stein. Is it enough to close the gap? No, it's not. He's not pushing the button when it comes to overtake, so he's comfortable to sit behind for the time being, and same with Kachow. Neither of them really going for an overtake, as Vengeance has unfortunately decided to retire from this Grand Prix. Got a move going on. Cool Guy getting himself ahead of Delta Lima and up into P8, but our first retirement of the night then, and that is Vengeance out, and a shame to see. Dace has lost the position to Tiny Darkspike, and Tiny Darkspike starting to actually pull away from him now, and he's not so much in a sandwich between the two Ferraris, and there's more spread out and more just awkwardly got one in front and one behind. Still extremely close at the front of the field, but still top three vastly unchanged. But a great start from Calirob has really set him up well for this race. We've now got Stein pushing the overtake button. He's got DRS. He is closing on the Williams. Could we see a move for the race lead down towards turn 12? He's going to look for it. He pulls to the inside. How late can he brake? He can brake extremely late. The Williams going around the outside, though they're still going to be side by side, and Kachow trying to find a way through. Calirob keeps the position, and Stein's going to have to tuck in again for P2, but a great effort. He's expelled a lot of ERS though that Calirob has managed to save, and this has allowed Atomkev to actually drive himself up to the back of this fight. So we've now got a four-way fight going on for P1 here. Kachow locks up going into the penultimate corner, but Stein is going to be eager now. He's shown that he's hungry for this race win, and he's activated ERS already. Pushed that overtake by an extra 160 brake horsepower. DRS open, overtake enabled once again as they hurdle their way down towards turn 2. Can he get it done? Calirob tries to defend, but here comes Stein down the inside towards turn 2. He brakes late, he gets the move done, and Calirob's going to have to settle in, but he's got the momentum. He's going to maybe try for it. He's got a lot of ERS in his pocket ready to use, and Calirob is not going to let him go easily. Kachow trying to find a way through. Maybe if these guys start fighting a little bit too more vigorously, he could find himself getting involved, but this is pretty quite a close fight already. Only lap 5 of 27 though, still a long way to go as Kachow goes purple to the first sector. Atomkev still here, well within DRS range, and Calirob is going to be interested to make this a close fight and get that lead back. Toss, we've got making a move up into P10. There's going to be points as Mr. Woot goes for a bit of a cutback. Back to the front though. Stein pulling up his lead. But now as we head into another DRS zone, Calirob's going to maybe push the button. He is going to push the button. DRS open. He's being completely aided. Is he interested in going for the move? No, he's not. He's actually happy. He's content just to sit behind in DRS. He knows Kachow probably isn't going to go for a move, going extremely wide to prevent that move, and I'm going to guess that Calirob is waiting for that move down towards turn number 2. And I'm sure that's going to be his plan. Negotiating turn 14 and 15 pretty well. As he looks into the penultimate corner, more just to spot his braking point, I'm sure, but he's very close to the back of the AlphaTauri. Could we see another swap for the race lead as they come on to lap number 6? Calirob pushed the button for overtake. He's got a lot in his arsenal to use, more so than Stein, who might be struggling in a few laps' time. DRS open. Is he going to go for it? Defensive goes Stein sort of half-heartedly, but it doesn't look like Cali's going to go for it this time. Around, he's happy to sit behind once again. And Kachow, he's struggling to stay with these guys. He's pushing very hard. You can see by him locking up his front tyres, exceeding the grip level under braking. He's pushing very hard to stay with them. Can he naturally stay with them? He's really trying to. But at the moment, Calirob seems comfortable. Of course, Stein is very low on ERS. He had to expel it to get past. And Calirob, he's comfortable. He's got 90% ERS, or 85% ERS. He's content here. And Kachow as well, 50%. Dace, the first man, with a 3-second time penalty, as well as Cool Guy and Exotic, both with penalties. But the Williams, yeah, he seems more comfortable at this point. I mean, Stein has opened the gap up to 8 tenths, but that's going to be mitigated once again as soon as they come into this DRS zone. Calirob might be a little bit under pressure from Kachow, who is looking eager to get this move done. He's got the overtake button enabled. Calirob might have to look in his mirrors and think twice. Is Kachow going to go for it? Has a little look, has a little bit of a lunge, taps to the rear right of Calirob there, but yeah, a bit of a half-hearted move, and maybe wants to work with Calirob instead of trying to get through, because being third place in the train, unless you know, yeah, it's pretty touch and go. Pack racing is one of those things. You don't want to be the man in P2. Well, I mean, you do. In the sense that if P3 is willing to work with you, you do want to be the man in P2. But if P3 isn't willing to work with you, it's tricky being in P2, because you have to look forwards and back at the same time. Here's Kachal though. Is he interested for going in for it into turn 2? Doesn't look like it. He's happy to sit behind and save a bit of ERS. Kev as well, dwelling in the background. Could be one to look out for in the later stages of this race. Lap 7 of 27 then. Approaching the third way mark, and is still as close as ever at the front. Can't seem to quite get enough of each other. And Calirob, yeah, he's sort of just sieging Stein out, and I'm sure he's waiting to see that blinking red light of the AlphaTauri in front. I'm sure that's what he's waiting for. He's waiting to see it. As soon as he sees it, he's going to push the button and go for the move, because then he knows he's got the upper hand. At the moment, he doesn't know how much Stein is saving, but all he does know is he's got a lot in his pocket, and all he can do is drive the wheels off this Williams. And that's exactly what he's doing. Can pretty much even on pace the top 4 at the moment, and maybe the Ferrari of Mucho is actually being dragged back up into this fight. Delta Lima with the penalty, and Calirob using his ERS in little increments to try and close the gap, bridge the gap a little bit closer. So if he does need to go for the move, he can. Goes a little bit too deep into turn 12 though. That could invite Kachal to have a look, but it looks as though he's managed to drive it out and recover from it pretty quickly. Stein is now starting to sort of recover a bit of ERS, but not much. But I'm sure this is going to be spicy, especially towards the later end. Of course, no one really interested in going for the move just yet. They want to save their tyres, extend the stint as long as they can, save the ERS. 100% ERS for Calirob now as he pushes the button to close the gap. Is this going to be him going for the race lead? It very well could be. He is closing at a rate of knots, nearly 200 miles an hour. DRS open as he propels himself. Stein now running out of ERS, has to conserve, goes defensive. Calirob to the outside, breaks late as he can. Stein to the inside. It's very much one line through turn 1 and 2, and that's very much killed his momentum, but he's managed to carry on going. Good defensive maneuvers from Stein there to hang on to the race lead, but he's now very vulnerable because Calirob is an absolute tyrant when it comes to the energy recovery system, and the advantage he has over Stein right now. Stein having to conserve ERS, he's going to be very vulnerable down that back straight where we have DRS. He needs to conserve as much as he can now, otherwise Calirob is going to absolutely fly past him. And turn 12 and 13 are, well, not so much one-liners as much as turn 1 and 2 are, so yeah, he might be caught out a little bit. There's a spin out, I believe. Is that Mucho? That is Mucho. He's spun round coming out of turn 9, I believe. And he's now finds himself behind his teammate. Is Calirob going to go for the move? He needs to get through pretty quickly, I would say, because he knows Stein is vulnerable. He goes again deep. So does Stein. Big lock up on the front. I think all 3 of them went in a little bit too deep there. Stein running a little bit wide, coming off of turn 13 and into 14. But still extremely close. Now only a 4-horse race at the front. Not much in the way of action. Kev as well. Another one with an incredible amount of ERS in his pocket. And just like Calirob is looking comfortable. He's fine in 4th. He doesn't need to make any rash decisions at this point. So he's looking really good. We got Calirob now activating the ERS once again down this back straight. And he knows that Stein's vulnerable now. He knows that Stein won't possibly be able to defend as he sees that blinking red light. That's what he's charging for. He's closing. But it's again... He's closes his ERS. He knows that he can't get the move done into turn 1, and it's going to have to be in towards turn 12 and 13. We've now got Kev maybe going for a move for the podium, potentially, as Kachal's not as vulnerable as Stein, but still very much less secure than Kev or Calirob in front, but still incredibly close. We've got Mucho on the back of his teammate, wants to make amends for his spin. He has definitely been the quicker of the 2 Ferraris, maybe less consistent, but the quicker nonetheless. Down the inside he goes into turn 5. Pretty neat move, and I don't think Dace is going to fight that one too harshly as they now run through turn 9 towards 10. And this is such a crucial corner. Dace picks himself up another 3-second time penalty. Is Calirob going to go for the move? He's got DRS open, and Stein is pretty defenseless, so if he did push the button, I would say he actually closed the gap, but I don't think he cares. We're now a third of the way through. He's probably going to wait for the pit stop, maybe get an undercut, an overcut, something, because in clear air he's going to be a lot quicker with that ERS advantage, being able to put maybe one quali sim like lap in to bridge the gap and get in front. As Stein is coming into the pit lane. The first of the front runners to pit. Is anyone going to follow him in? Calirob is the only one that stays out. Now this is absolute crunch time for him and crunch time for these 3. They do not want to be fighting off the pit exit. They need a good out lap. Calirob needs a great in lap. He's going to be using that ERS. You can see now quali mode. This is absolute hot lap of an in lap for Calirob. He needs to get this absolutely hooked up to perfection. Same with Tiny Darspike and Mucho. All 3 of these people need to get it done. or everyone that stayed out, in fact, needs a good good in lap. But all three now heading out onto the medium tyre to the end of the race. Lap 10 of 27. 17 laps they'll be doing on these medium tyres. And are they going to fight on the exit? They don't look close enough to fight on the exit, but they're just about, I'd say, within DRS range of each other. Kachow just about in DRS range of Stein. But what's crucial is they need to get these tyres warmed up. They need to get them turned on and working quickly, because Carly Rob at front is absolutely flying at the minute. He's really showing his pace now. He's got clear air. And it's going to be interesting, really is. Oh, a bit shaky though. That could be the tyre wear kicking in. He needs to make sure this lap is hooked up, as I've said. Stein is flying, Kachow's flying. They need to get these tyres warmed up. Atomkev has fallen a little bit off on these medium tyres, not utilising his ERS advantage probably as well as he could. We've got Mucho trying to close the gap to Tiny Darkspite. This is a provisional P2, probably won't be for as they pit, but he darts to the inside, has to tuck back in very close there as they come in. But is Calirob going to pit? This is crucial time now. He's pulling himself to the right hand side and in he comes. All eyes now on the Williams pit crew. They need to hook up a good pit stop. In he comes. Is he going to speed? No, nails that pit entry to absolute perfection. Now Kachow knows he needs to work with Stein. They cannot afford to lose any time whatsoever as Mucho gets in front of Tiny Darkspike as he comes in. Mucho staying out an extra 2 laps as Dace picks himself up. Yet another penalty, unfortunately. Calirob now peeling it in to the pit lane. Where is Stein? Now coming through the penultimate corner. This could be very close. He's now pulling out the pit lane. Here comes Stein out of the final corner. Oh, this is going to be extremely close. He's now put the power down. Stein's got that backwards momentum though. Calirob now exiting the pit lane. It's going to be incredibly close. Here they come. They're going to be side by side maybe on the exit, but Calirob's done it. He's gotten through and he's pulled off the overcut. Absolutely incredible. But what is now crucial is that he gets those tyres warmed up and turned on, because Stein has already got those tyres warmed up and turned on, and he's going to be extremely quick. He's not going to let Calirob keep that lead for very long, and he needs to make sure he gets through while Calirob's runnable. Looks to the inside but can't quite go for it, so he's going to back out of it. But what a crucial part of the race this is. Stein needs to get through because Calirob's shown some great pace. He can't afford another ERS plunder like he did to get through that first time around. Really cannot afford it, so he needs to get through on merit this time rather than using his ERS to do this talking. Needs to find a bit more inside himself. Goes a little bit wide through turn 9. The pole sitter pushing maybe a little bit too hard. Through turn 11, turn 10, DRS open, and he's going to be using everything he's got to try and get through, but he's not closing enough. He maybe is closing enough. We've seen how late he can be on the brakes. He's going to look to the outside, bit of contact maybe to the rear of the Williams. No damage done though. He didn't really know where to go going into turn 12, but Kachow and Atomkev, we've still got the same 4, but it's just the front 2 have swapped over. Calirob from Stein, Kachow and Atomkev, your net P1, 2, 3 and 4, they're catching up. Now onto the back of Mr. Wu as Mucho is now into the pit lane. AA Gaming left the session. Probably just an idle spectator. But we've got Stein. He's not got the run. He's not close enough, I don't think, and he could be looking backwards rather than forward because Kachow is breathing down his neck and Calirob nearly already out of DRS range. Stein needs to find something inside himself to bridge that gap back down, and Calirob has played this to absolute perfection. A little bit wide goes Stein. That could be a warning coming his way. And I would not be surprised if he's a third of the way to the penalty already. Lap 12 of 27. It's all kicking off. It's been such a great fight at the front. Incredibly close. And now Stein managed to save up a little bit of ERS. Not a lot though. Needs to use the DRS to his full advantage. Kachow maybe could find himself getting past Stein pretty soon because he's got the DRS advantage and maybe the pace to go and catch Calirob, but the last thing they need is a battle going on right now, especially when Calirob is in his absolute peak performance now on these mediums. We saw it in Mexico. He was quick on the softs, but as soon as he swapped to those mediums, he was absolutely flying on an absolute mad one. Cool guy with a 3-second time penalty. We're still waiting for Toss, who's found himself in P2. Respect for that. Whether it's going to last or not is another thing, but he's there nonetheless, and if there's a red flag, he will find himself P2. DRS now open for Stein, who's out of DRS range, but he's managed to just about creep back in. Atomkev looking to put the pressure on Kachow as well. These three could be looking to have a bit of a fight. Oh no, Atomkev's gone round, he's hit the barrier. That's his front wing pretty much chopped off. Put on the ERS a little bit too early, found himself spinning round, and that is a shame. He's going to be tumbling down the order as Mucho and everyone behind are going to be catching up, and that's going to be a less than ideal unnecessary pit stop for the Haas, who was looking so strong, looked so comfortable, but in the end it's now a 3-horse race at the front for the podium, and that could have been something for Atomkev. It really could have. Just a shame that he got a bit too eager. Stein, the first of the front runners to pick up that 3-second penalty. And just about in the DRS range is Stein. Kachow breathing down his neck though. It's pretty much the same story every lap. Nothing really happening up and down the field, so all eyes at the front as we approach the halfway mark. Lap 13 of 27. Stein could be out of DRS range here. He needs to creep himself back in, using that ERS to just try and creep himself back in, but this is good news for Calirob if he wants to continue his lead. As a cool guy now in to the pit lane. Stein is now out of DRS range, and Atomkev picked himself up a 3-second penalty. Now it's all eyes on Kachow. He knows Stein's out of DRS range, so he's going to push the button. He's got the ERS to use. Stein doesn't. DRS is absolutely making him blitz down this back straight. He looks to the inside. Stein has to defend. Now around the outside goes Kachow. Has a look, but Stein, that inside line is always going to work better for turn 1. They hurdle their way through turn 3. I always call it turn 1. It's turn 2. As they now hurdle their way through turn 3 into 4. Kachow, yeah, he's putting the pressure on now, and 1.6 seconds is the gap to Calirob after that little bit of a tussle. It's crazy how much you lose so quickly around here as well. Any battling at all and you lose so much time. But Kachow, yeah, he's absolutely running for that P2. He wants it. And he knows how vulnerable Stein is in the ERS situation. Maybe going for the race lead so early wasn't a good idea. DRS open for Kachow. He's now pushed to overtake. Stein's going to get a little bit of a slipstream from Calirob in front, but not enough, maybe. Just enough to defend with. And keep himself in front for the time being. But the Pulsar seems to be struggling on race pace, something we don't often see. And now the gap bridging towards 2 seconds. And yeah, Kachow now going for this move down the inside. He goes into turn 1. This has been a long time coming. Stein's going to try and keep him on the outside. How have they managed to go side by side through there? It's now going to be side by side through the long left-hander of turn 3. Kachow's going to keep his foot in, but there's Stein still on the inside of the outside for turn number 4. He's going to go for it around the outside. What a battle this is. Bit of contact between the two, but no damage done. Stein's still on the outside. He's going to brake as late as he can, try and use the brakes to keep the momentum going. He's around the outside, just misses the barrier there. And Kachow takes that net P2 position in this race. What a bit of a tussle that was. He had to try his best to keep it, but Stein now back down into P3. Kachow showing some pretty good pace, and this is going to be helping his championship bid. In front, Calirob 2.5 seconds. Now closing on to the front two of Toss and Mr. Woot, both whom have to make another stop. Lap 15 of 27. Stein on the back of him though, he's coming right back at him, looks to the inside, makes him go in deep, double front lock up for Kachow, bit of contact. Stein looking to the outside. Has he picked up a bit of damage? No, he hasn't, despite that contact. Looking to the inside of turn 14, and Stein is not letting Kachow breathe now. He's stuck in that DRS and he's going to be looking to make that counter attack, but has he got the pace? Has he got the resources to get through? That is the questions we've got to ask ourselves. It's P5 at the moment. Toss the first of the front two to pit, the first of the medium runners to pit, I should say. And now Calirob getting through on Mr. Woot. Stein going to try and get through on Kachow, who's got the ERS-ish to defend. He's not got a lot now. DRS is allowing him to close. He's got the ERS as well. Pulls to the inside for turn 1. Kachow tries to deter him by defending, but up the inside goes Stein. He's going to claim the corner. Kachow's going to come right back at him, though. Darts to the inside of turn 3. It's pretty much roles reversed from the lap previously. Stein now on the outside. Kachow on the inside in the Alfa Romeo. It's going to be outside for turn 4, but this time he's going to opt for the cutback. Let Stein have it. Gives him the corner. And is going to be waiting for that second DRS zone in a few corners' time. He can see that blinking red light of Stein. He knows he needs to harvest energy. This cool guy picks up another 3-second penalty. Kachow knows he doesn't need to make any rash judgments, but all this fighting has now allowed Calirob to absolutely waltz away with this now. 12 laps to go, 11.5 laps-ish left of this race remaining, and Calirob has over a 4-second lead of the two people that were so close to him in the first stint. And this second half of the season has been absolutely incredible for Calirob, really showing some good pace as Stein has managed to open up a bit of a gap over Kachow. But Kachow is not going to let him breathe. Bit of a lock up on the front right again into turn 12. We've got a little bit of a battle now going on for P6 around the outside. Looks cool guy, very late on the brakes, but almost drives himself off the track in doing so. Maybe an opportunistic move, but an accidental move at that if he did go for it. Atmkev picks up a 3-second penalty, another 3-second penalty. It's all coming undone for the man in P12 at the moment. Mr. Wu into the pit lane. Kachow and Stein still going at it. Kachow 1-2 have saved a little bit of ERS. Stein again on the ERS management part. Quali pace is absolutely stellar. Race pace is absolutely stellar. ERS management, again, not the best. Cool guy and Tiny Dustbike going side by side, though. This is the fight for P5. Tiny Dustbike on the inside, but Cool guy swoops around the outside and he doesn't fight that one too hard. But back to the front between Kachow and Stein. These two probably not going to let each other breathe for quite a while yet. Still a long way to go, though. Clear blue skies here in Sochi. Exotic with a 3-second penalty. Multiple warnings, so Sochi definitely biting back. Through he goes. Stein now almost blinking that red light, but is Kachow going to go for it? Atmkev retired from the session in the pit lane. Again, Stein opening the gap enough to defend this position from Kachow. So Kachow not quite close enough, but the crucial thing is that the more Kachow sits behind an ERS, the more ERS he's able to save. He doesn't need to work as hard to stay with him. And Stein is having to burn through a little bit of ERS. Vengeance has left the session. The first of the many of the two to DNF, and he's finally decided to leave the session. Closest fight on track at the moment between Kachow and Stein. Another battle going on between Tiny Dustbike and Cool Guy, but a lot of airtime going to these guys. Mutual Champ really fighting that rear end of the Ferrari. It looks to be pretty squirmy, and he's only 5 seconds off these guys. If they fight a little bit harder, maybe we can see him catch back up. Atmkev's car pulling off, ironically, into the same space that saw him. That was the catalyst of him retiring from the race. That first spin, of course, when he was fighting for the podium, really led to the chain of events that saw him retire, but ironically that's where his AI decides to pull him over. Stein now having to conserve ERS. Again, that blinking red light, giving that motivation to Kachow. When you see it as a driver, you know that you're catching, and you know you're putting the pressure on, and you know you're in a good position, because Kachow now knows how much ERS Stein's got. He hasn't got much. Kachow's got 50%, he's got half his battery full. He can chill behind, he can save it, and then blitz past as soon as Stein can't get through. And of course, he's got that 3-second penalty to contend with as well. All Kachow needs to do is sit back, chill. He doesn't need to make any rash judgments whatsoever, but still going to be a great battle. DRS open. Still not interested in going for the move. Calirob doing absolutely amazing at the front. 4 seconds clear of Stein. And these guys were side by side just around about 8 laps ago. Yellow flags through Sector 3. That's Mucho again round. That's going to promote Cool Guy up to P4. And Tiny Dustbike up into P5. Maybe even Dace can get involved again. No, maybe not. But Kachow looking extremely close. Is he going to go for the move this time? Not going to push overtake. Stein is, you can see by absolutely gapping him. Now already over 190 miles an hour. Yellow flags through Sector 3 once again. big lockup from Stein as Mucho has left the session and retired, down to only 11 runners now in this race, or 10 runners I should say, in this race. So Toss, well done, you're going to score points, mate. And that is absolutely sensational stuff for Toss to be in the points paying positions. Granted there's only 10 finishes, but still points nonetheless. Points are points. Towards turn 6. And he is on the back of him. Stein still struggling for ERS. Could be worth for Stein just sitting behind Kachow maybe for a couple of laps, who maybe could go for the move here. He's definitely got the backwards, he's definitely got the ERS to do so. But again, just chilling behind. I think he's waiting for as soon as he knows that Stein can't get him back. He's got the pace, he's got the ERS, but at the moment he's chilling. Doesn't need to make any rush. Toss on these softs though, absolutely flying, chasing after Dace at the moment in the Ferrari, who is going to be slower on those medium tyres, the older medium tyres as well. Goes a little bit too deep, does the Ferrari. That's going to invite Toss to have a little look, gets a nice exit, but doesn't go for it into that chicane. Wise move for the man in P7. With a buttload of ERS to use, and he's going to have DRS in a few moments' time. Looks to the inside more just to spot his braking point. Into the final corner. Is Kachow pushing the button? Is he going to go for it on Stein? Not on this particular occasion, so we'll go back to Toss. He's pushed the button, his overtake button, to try and get past Dace. Is Dace going to fight this one too difficultly? DRS open as he pulls to the inside, and Toss, yeah, pretty plain and straightforward move there. And up into P6 he goes, and chasing after Tiny Darspike. Could do it. 4.5 seconds is the gap. Four tenths separate second and third. Towards turn number 10. DRS is going to be open. Is he going to push the button yet? No, he's not. Stein is so vulnerable. And I think maybe Kachow could have caught Cali. Maybe could have given him at least a run for his money if it had gotten past Stein sooner. But he's been stuck behind him. Or maybe not so stuck behind him, but he's been with him, and maybe if he got him through he could have caught him. Now only 7 laps of this race remaining, and I'm going to favour Kachow for P2 and going to extend his championship lead over Honesy, who unfortunately isn't racing. But now DRS once again. We'll go on board with Cali Rob. Haven't seen much of him recently. Of course, while these two don't seem to be too interested in having a fight. Stein still very vulnerable. Cali Rob showing that's how it's done. 6 seconds clear of Stein. No penalties whatsoever, and looking to go for back-to-back wins. Now 6 people watching the stream. It's a pleasure to have you all in. Cali Rob driving that car on absolute rails to its absolute limit, lap after lap, but so consistent, no mistakes so far this race, and he's just been on it. Cool guy as well in the Haas, driving the colours after Atmkev, his teammate, did retire. He's doing quite a good job in P4, but how long that's going to last is another question with 12 seconds of penalties. Cool guy again, another set of 3 seconds as we speak. We're approaching the DRS zone. Is Kachow going to push the button on this time around? No, he's not. Doesn't seem too interested, and I don't know why Stein isn't taking this time to maybe conserve a bit of ERS. Something must be up, but Toss has very quietly snuck up onto the back of Tiny Darspike. The gap only now 1.5 seconds. It was at 4.5 last time we checked in. So Toss absolutely flying on these soft tyres. The Flying Scotsman is on a charge. Oh, and that is a spin for Mr. Cool Guy. Unfortunately, I don't know why I call him Mr. Cool Guy, but I don't need to assume that. But now this is a fight for P number 4 for Toss. Let's see what he can do. Stein breaking the toe a little bit to maybe save a bit of ERS and not invite Kachow past, who's now got a full battery of ERS at his disposal, ready to use at a moment's notice, as Toss still slowly chipping away. Cool Guy retired from the session. We've lost another car on lap 22 of 27. Can Kachal now finally get through? It'll be, let's see. He's got a full battery. He's got nothing to lose at this point. 10 seconds back to the nearest car. Toss trying to creep into DRS range. Of course, still got quite a bit of ERS left to use as well. Let's see, is Kachal going to go for it? No, he's sitting behind. He's been boring. Come on, Kachal. Give us a race. Of course, the championship is at stake, so you can understand why he's not going for it if he knows that he can get this P2 on penalties, but still nice to get it on track and gives us something to watch, because so far it's been a pretty good race in terms of action. We had some nice side-by-side moments between Stein and Kachal, and of course Cali as well. The school guy leaves the session, but Toss now firmly within DRS range. How many penalties does Toss have? 3 seconds, so he needs to get through and clear 3 seconds of the Renault, which could be pretty interesting to see. Is Kachal now finally going to go for it? He's got the DRS. He's closer than he's ever been. Is he finally going to push the button, waiting for the overtake to turn green? No, he's not. And Stein's still unable to save the RS. I don't know how. But is Toss going to go for a move? He's pushing the button. He's got DRS. He's definitely close. But how close is he? Tiny Dust Bike burning through his DRS to try and stay in front and weaving around, breaking the slipstream. That hole he's punching through the air does not want to assist Toss in any way, shape or form and keep this P4. And the longer he can keep Toss behind, the less time he's going to have to stay within 3 seconds of Toss. Testament, of course, to Toss's 3-second penalty as Kachal now picks up a 3-second time penalty. So it's game on between these two. He's got nothing in hand apart from his ERS advantage. So he needs to get through on track. And that might be a wake-up call for Kachal that perhaps he probably should have got it done pretty soon. And I'm sure he's now going to start pushing the button, stop playing around now. DRS open. Is he going to go for it? No, he needs to get through. But he's not going for it. He's going to bide his time and wait, at least for the time being. Toss, use an overtake. No. Again, not use an overtake. So no one really interested in going for moves at the time. Toss weaving around. Whether he needs to get some temperature into the tyres or something. Who knows? But I'm sure he's glad to get some airtime. Well inside the points then is Toss. This alternate strategy working absolute wonders for him as we now head on to lap 24. Second and third still fighting out, and now that overtake has turned green. Kachal has pushed the button. He knows he needs to get through. He knows Stein's vulnerable. He's got the DRS. He's going through turn 1 completely flat out, tucked nicely behind Stein, who tries to defend, but it's absolutely pointless because here comes Kachal up into second place, and very nicely done. But Kachal will not let him breathe. We've seen how ruthless Stein can be. He cannot breathe, and he's going to be relentless to at least try and stay with Kachal. As Toss is still on the back of Tiny Dust Bike, can't quite find a way through. He's got overtake enabled as they head through the flat out turn 3, looking to go around the outside and keep the foot in. He's going to switch to the outside again for turn 4. How late can he be? He breaks so late, swoops around the outside. Nice move from Toss there. And up into P4 he goes. Now it's game on to try and pull out 3 seconds to Tiny Dust Bike, or at least hope that he doesn't get or at least hope that Tiny Dust Bike gets a penalty. But Kachal already pulled out a 1 second lead over Stein, using that ERS now to absolutely deploy it. He's been saving it for around about 14 laps or so, and he's now finally using it to pull the gap open. And Tiny Dust Bike has managed to stay with Toss pretty well, so those 3 seconds looking increasingly unlikely for Toss unless there's a bit of a mistake for Tiny Dust Bike. Mr. Wu has managed to get onto the back of Dace as well, the other alternate strategy runner, getting close as we enter the final stages of this Grand Prix. And into the final corner, heading on to lap 25 of these two. Cali Rob, that gap has come down a little bit because Kachal's on an absolute mission now. Maybe, who knows, he might catch Cali Rob, but looks very unlikely. He's got a lot of ERS, and so does Cali Rob. Very chill in front, doesn't need to push. If he doesn't need to, that's Mr. Woot getting himself in to the top 6 with no penalties as well. Looking good. Toss, crunch time for him. But Tiny Darkspike showing some pretty good pace. Didn't quite look it early on in qualifying. Looks to be quite far off the pace, but he's shown in the race that that's not the case at all whatsoever. So Tosh trying to open it up. As soon as he gets out of DRS range, I'm sure it's going to be a much easier ride. And was he outside of DRS range? Yes, he was. So this is really now game on for Tosh. He's got 2 laps to get 2 seconds on Tiny Darkspike if he wants to keep P4, provided he doesn't pick up any more penalties. And Kachow looking pretty set for P2. Cali Rob, yeah, coming on to the penultimate lap now, is looking pretty good for a race victory. Don't want to jinx it, but he's driven pretty well all race long. Kachow has closed the gap a little bit and it's shown the pace that could have been there potentially. But Stein, the pole sitter, not had the greatest race in the world. It's still a podium if he can bring it home. Tiny Darkspike now well outside the DRS range, over 2 tenths out, 3 tenths out of the DRS range. So Toss, 2 laps now, 26 of 27 to the end of the race. 2 seconds he needs to close. Or now 1.5 seconds he needs to get over on a Tiny Darkspike. And with those fresher tyres, it seems to be working out for him, at least so far. Hopefully those softs won't hit a cliff for his sake, because a P4 finish for Toss will not be a bad result whatsoever. And when you consider that the only people in front of him are Cali Rob, Kachow and Stein, that's a pretty good result for Toss. Smaller grid, granted, but still, he's driven well. He played the alternate strategy and he's been really consistent all race long. Only mistake you can really attribute to him is the penalty. But he's going to try and drive his nuts off to bring that penalty and mitigate that penalty. At worst, it's P5 at the moment. Actually, it might well be P6 because Mr. Wu is just about within 3 seconds of Toss, and he's on the soft compound tyre as well. And hopefully for Toss's sake that Mr. Woot maybe has a bit of a fight with his teammate. Could help him along. Gap now nearly 2 seconds. He needs 1 more second this lap. No mistakes, completely flat out. Nothing to lose now for Toss, because it's going to be either P6 or nothing. Or it's going to be P4 or P6. Either way. And who's that into the pit lane? That's an Alfa Romeo Delta Lima into the pits as we come on to the final lap. On board with Cali up. The gap now under 5 seconds. Kachow really driving the absolute wheels off that car in this final stage of the race. Stein has fallen back around about 4 seconds back. Toss at the gap out over 2 seconds. Mr. Root not able to catch. Tiny Darkspike doing as much as he can to stay within 3 seconds. Any mistake though, and Toss is going to really capitalise off it. He's going to be pushing for this final lap. .1 seconds is going to be crunch time. Cali Rob into the final sector though for the final time. Round number 11, season 4. He won in Mexico. Absolute amazing display from Cali Rob. Incredible racing, and he's been a pretty big menace all season long. Actually, he's been one of the only drivers apart from Mr. Wu to go penalty free. He drove that first stint to perfection, saved DRS. He comes through the final corner. He wins the Russian Grand Prix. Cali Rob back-to-back winner. And Kachow extends his championship lead after Honesy doesn't decide to show up to the race. He comes across the line, pulls to the right hand side. That's P3, P2 and P3 for Stein. Toss, he drove as well as he possibly could. But across the line it's P4. Is it going to be P? He's going to keep P4. Tiny Darkspike picked himself up a penalty. And he just about managed to open up the gap to Mr. Woot. So Toss is driving that final couple of laps. Really paid dividends. It's P4 for him. Tiny Darkspike and Mr. Woot in 5 and 6. Dace, P7. Exotic now coming through the final sector. Goes purple there. So he's going for the fastest lap here. Trying to take it away from, I'd assume, Cali Rob. How do I see the fastest lap? At the moment it's Adam Kev with the fastest lap. But of course he's retired. Let's see what he can do though. Is it going to be the fastest lap? This Mercedes on absolute rails at the moment. It's only going to be P8. But as he crosses the line, third gear, is it going to be the fastest lap? Yes, it is. And Cali Rob, a very deserved birthday victory. Happy birthday to Cali Rob. And if I'm not mistaken, Kachau could be crowned a champion already. The gap heading into this Grand Prix was 13 points. He's extended it by even more and over a race win, I believe. So I think Kachau has done enough and is your Season 4 champion. Congratulations to all drivers. Your race results were Cali Rob takes the win ahead of Kachau and Stein in P3. Toss P4, a great result from the back of the grid with Mr. Wu in P5. Tiny Darspike P6 was with Dace in P7. Exotic P8. Delta Lima in P9 with Cool Guy rounding off the top 10. Mucho, Vengeance and Cool Guy actually all not able to finish this Grand Prix, but what a race it was. Very close first in, and finally he's dethroned Honesy. He's been consistent all season long. We started in Bahrain short. He drove his wheels off in that race. He's been consistent all season long and a very deserved champion in Kachau. Very, very good stuff. He's been the man to take it there. Very much congratulations to him. Good stuff there, but that will round off the action for tonight. You join us for the season finale next week at Interlagos, the finale of season 4. We've rounded off the Drivers' Championship, but don't go anywhere because it's still going to be an incredible race nonetheless. Hopefully with a bit more drivers on the grid. Regardless, I've been Zach Sweeney. This has been NRL, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.